Thank you for staying with us. This is Carol Parisi with Champion News Talk Radio. Our founder, Jack Roser, and myself today have Charlie Kirk, and we are talking about youth outreach. We're talking about school boards and books. And you were saying that...
Propaganda.
Propaganda.
Propaganda books.
Propaganda books, yeah.
I think I brought that name up out of the past, but you're talking about, you think that the textbooks that are in the schools now are teaching things that are not actually true.
Factually inaccurate, right. And even
That's a very nice way to say lying,
right.
Factually inaccurate.
The author himself, just alone, the title is a very partisan figure, Paul Krugman. And then you read into the book, not only is it poorly written, things are not cited, but there are facts that are not correct.
What class was this for?
It was AP Economics, and it's not just 214, but it's become the national standard. People follow suit.
That's advanced.
Advanced placement.
Yeah.
And on the AP site, they don't just endorse Paul Krugman, but they endorse other books as well.
Can I say something? My son's always been an AP student, whatever. They take the AP kids and they give the AP kids more of this garbage than they give to the regular classes.
And the reason for that, exactly, they're going to be the leaders of tomorrow. They're going to be teaching their peers who are maybe in the regular or the lower classes. So if a regular student asks an AP student what's right, it's almost like the trickle-down theory. If we educate the brightest, then the other people will be adequately, brainwashed.
So you're being their useful idiots. And that really, as a mom, gets me very perturbed that my son is, some of the books, I don't know if you've even, in English class, some of the books that you've been presented to in AP English is garbage. Michael, I see you.
Yeah, I just, I am really, really tired. And this comes back to the school boards, allowing our school boards to be run by union-affiliated people. Because if they can get the young folks to feel like victims, if they can get the young folks to feel that they are entitled, then they're going to have the mindset of communism or a socialistic philosophy. They're doing that, and they've been doing it for quite a while. The truth of the matter is, and that's what we need to get to the kids, is the wool's been pulled over their eyes. And their future has already been swept under the rug because they've got a debt they're looking at that they'll never be able to pay off.
All right, not to sound like a conspiracy theorist here, but a couple things that I'd like to say. First of all, the movie Agenda by Curtis Bowers. We had him as our guest here. That speaks very specifically to how they're indoctrinating our children. Also, if you roll back to the 1940s under Hitler, Hitler said, "Give me your children, and I will show you what your future will be like." This almost sounds like a conspiracy and a propaganda agenda, an agenda for this propaganda to change our culture and to change our society and to change our American heritage.
You're right. And Paul Samuelson, a famous Keynesian economist, had a wonderful quote. He said, don't give me the schools, don't give me the kids, give me one thing. Give me the economics textbooks and I can change a culture forever. That's Paul Samuelson, and he understood if you can get to the economics textbooks and totally alter the way that they think.
It's changing their thinking.
Right, exactly. And if it's more towards a collectivist or more of a statist way of thinking rather than a free market way of thinking.
There was another poet that said, as a twig is bent, so is a mighty oak inclined. People have learned long ago, you take the kids and train them and you have them for quite a while.
That's right.
But
we've got generations of kids that have grown up. I grew up as a public school kid, but I was just the beginning of it. They started teaching us phonic reading and this new math. I still can't do math to this day, thank God for calculators. I need to take your 5th grade math test one of these days. That's besides the point.
We won't hire anybody that can't at least do 5th grade
Thank God
arithmetic.
you didn't give me that math test. No, I'm only kidding. I'm only kidding. Anyway, long and short of it,
3/4 of the people that apply at Auto Engineering, 600-person company, I've started 4 companies along the way, which means I've hired a lot of people, but we give them a 6th grade arithmetic test. It separates the sheep from the goats quicker than anything else. And it's language independent too, so it isn't influenced by people from other countries. everybody can do the same Arabic numerals thing. So what we found is if you give them a 6th grade arithmetic test, 3/4 of them cannot pass. That is our experience of many years. The 3/4 of them. I can tell you, I'm an old bird, and I went to the first 3 grammar schools in my life and the first high school in the city of Chicago. One grammar school stood out because it was Catholic, and they put me back when I went to the Catholic school, and they put me up again when I went back to a public school. But those schools stunk back in my time. The University of Illinois took all comers. But the dean explained to us at the end of the first semester, half of you will be gone. The schools of Chicago really did stink, and they still do. Only half of them graduate.
I think
this is a pathetic whole business, and we find in business, I'll just sign it off, if we give them that extended time, we will take the 5th grade level, and at that way, at 50% of the job applicants for everything from engineers to floor swabbers, 50% can do 5th grade work, but with twice the time allotted. So it's a pathetic thing they're doing, and why is that so significant? It's very significant because why? If you can do arithmetic after the 3rd grade, then you should know it at the end of the 3rd grade. You will have submitted to a discipline, you will submit it to rote learning, and you would have come up with answers that were right or wrong. All 3 of those things are totally missing in the school systems of Illinois.
There's no such thing as right or wrong now.
Huh?
There's no such thing as right or wrong.
You're
Kids
right.
don't even fail anymore.
They're playing
they give them
horseshoes with
not
education.
yet.
Well, I mean, look what they're doing. They can't pass 5th grade math, yet you'll see them in the Occupy Wall Street. What are they against? They're against those evil corporations. Well, if you're against the evil corporations, what are you for? You're for communism. You're for socialism. This is what's being socially programmed into our kids.
Yeah, and just to bounce off of that, at some local elementary schools, they got rid of Fs. You can no longer fail a class.
Fail.
Right. It's just like, oh, you're almost there.
It's called not yet.
They got rid of
not
that.
yet.
That's what I'm looking for.
It's not yet. It's
Fs.
what the grade is.
The
Fail.
failing.
The big flag,
F.
the F.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They
They don't
not
do that.
You're not allowed to fail out of a course.
It hurts children's self-esteem.
Right.
You know, and let's not quit calling them children. This is a young man
Well, this
sitting
is a
here.
young man, but he was talking about what grade.
I've served on scholarship committees and Rotary and other things, and been astounded at the work and intelligence and the things that young people can do of high school age. Unbelievable. There's a good example sitting here. This guy's got more going in his head than most adults I know. And I think calling kids is a little bit demeaning.
Well, I wasn't calling Charlie a kid. We were talking about what it was. This is a junior high school.
Yeah, elementary school.
Elementary
type age.
school. Those are children.
Those are kids.
And they do not give them an F because it is bad for their self-esteem.
And also in the sports leagues, I like to say the last age to ever have true athletics. I joke around because I was the last age that if you didn't finish last, you didn't get a trophy. So I had a true athletic experience, but I remember my sister when she was in soccer, her team was terrible. They didn't win a game, and she came home with this thing like she won the World Cup.
Right. Right. Everybody gets a trophy.
And I said, "What is this thing?" She's like, "Oh, we participated." I said, "No."
Participation trophy. See, and that is clearly the antithesis of American exceptionalism and performance-based. You know, it's very sad, but let's talk a little bit about some of the reading that you guys do, some of the Lexile scores for some of these books in literature. I mean, what type of books, being in AP literature, did you get? Did you ever read The Perks of a Wallflower or any of those?
Well, we did read some rather risque literature, and people have differing opinions on whether or not that should be allowed in our high schools. To give you some perspective, American Beauty, the film, has been shown in District 214 for years, and that's R-rated, of course, with many sexually explicit scenes. But yeah, they're in literature classes. I like to think that they try to align with the history classes. For example, they intentionally make you read The Jungle in junior year, which is by Upton Sinclair and talks about the progressive era, at the same time when you learn about Teddy Roosevelt and the FDA. So they try to line it up intentionally. So you get this collectivist thought all together. They do that. And like, you know, the Upton Sinclair makes it seem like, you know, the food industry in the early 1900s was the worst thing that's ever happened to the world. And then 2 periods later, you'll be learning about, you know, how great the FDA is. It's all one straight line of curriculum.
They've got it figured out. We're going to hear more when we come back after the break.